9 and be ready to read. We're actually, believe it or not, we're going to look at 12 verses today. Woo-hoo, that's got to be a record. We're going to read in just a moment verses 1 through 12 of Genesis 29. But by way of review, last week we looked at one verse. We looked at one word in verse 1, journey. And I really had fun, and you guys are so gracious to me to let me have fun. I came up with this matrix, and I gave you a handout, and just to get you guys, all of us, thinking about where we are in this journey. And I created these four blocks. One way to do it. Any comments on that? Did anybody think about that this week? Okay, we'll move on.
Well, I had a comment.
I know it's yeah. You had a comment.
Security. I used to use you and me as I won't say polar opposites, but you're an entrepreneur and you have to you reap the rewards of your labor. But every time your job's coming to an end, you got to get another one, and you're always on the edge of, I would say, insecurity. But your reputation, if it's good, that's an underlying security. For me, I sat in a job that was stable as a rock, and I didn't have that insecurity, and that's why it lasted that long. And it's kind of interesting. I'm not sure if my personality drove me to my career, or if my career developed my personality.
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah.
As if your career is, if you make peace with your career, that may help form your strengths and weaknesses as they are. I don't know.
We tend to choose what I would think our makeup, how God's made us, tends to send us where we go to start choosing a vocation. And in America, it just so happens we are of the very small segment of the world's population. We get a choice. Most people are from the womb. They're destined to what their vocation will be, and of course that lends a huge amount of support to the idea that our life is more than our work. Because what's true, if it's true, it's got to be true for all. Most of the world is destined to a vocation. Right. We get to choose. I don't know. That's great. Yeah. So anyway, we'll not talk anymore about this. I know we could spend 2 or 3 weeks on this really great matrix here, and I know we. What's that?
For those of us like Bill, I'll speak personally. I thank the Lord for the folks that want to live in the quadrant with the risk.
Yes.
Yes.
Really? Without that, it fuels anything else.
I am thankful for entrepreneurs.
Huh.
Sometimes they get a bad rap for being greedy in that, but I'm thankful for the risk takers.
Well,
because I'm not, and I need risk takers.
Huh.
Really? I work for utility and Steve works finance, but we serve people who are risk takers. If they're not there, we have no reason to be.
Well, on the other hand, I do gravitate towards risk, and but I have one of my co-workers who's become a good friend, and he is kind of talking from you guys' perspective, and at times, my younger years, well, no, I would say, to be quite honest, we have tension. There's a natural tension that's there, but if we mature as men, if we can learn to appreciate each other, I really appreciate your comment. If we can learn to appreciate, yes, I enjoy risk, but I have huge gaps. I tend to overlook details that really drive me.
Come along and try to fill those in.
What's that?
I love to come along and try to fill in those.
You need a job. no, I've got a good help. So, but if we can learn to appreciate each other's and fill in those gaps, that's part of growth as a believer, as a person, as a human being. So. Unfortunately, it takes us till in usually our 50s or 60s to start to get that.
We get it right and then we die.
Yeah. We're before that, we're just so doggone prone. We want to get it right. We got to be right. Well, when you get to be a little bit older, tends to be less important. Start to realize how much we don't know. Thank you, Bill and Steve. Well, let's read the text, 1 through 12.
Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land, people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. Thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled in the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in its place. And Jacob said to them, My brothers, whence be you? And they said, Of Haran we are.
He said to them, Do you know Laban, Nahor's grandson? Yes, we know him, they answered. Then Jacob asked them, Is he well? Yes, he is, they said. And here comes his daughter Rachel with the sheep. Look, he said, the sun is still high. It is not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them back to the pasture.
We can't, they replied, until all the flocks are gathered and the stone has been rolled away from the mouth of the well. Then we will water the sheep. While he was still talking with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she was a shepherdess. When Jacob saw Rachel, daughter of Laban, his mother's brother, and Laban's sheep, he went over and rolled the stone away from the mouth of the well and watered his uncle's sheep.
Then Jacob kissed Rachel and lifted his voice and wept. Jacob told Rachel that he was a relative of her father and that he was Rebekah's son, and she ran and told her father.
All right, good. Thank you, guys. Well, the flow of this text is that Jacob has been, or the backdrop, 60 plus days on this journey, walking. Now, if any of us are on a journey, of course, we've got objectives, goals in our minds, and I would suggest even phrases in our minds that keep reoccurring. Every morning, or most every morning, when Jacob got up, could he have said, how is Uncle Laban? You know, Laban is the objective here. And it's apparent, obviously, that the first thing, when he arrives into the region, the first words out of his mouth is, where are you from? In other words, are you in a position to be able to answer the question, my driving question? Yes, Haran. How is Uncle Laban? Or do you know Laban? Yes, we know. And oh, by the way, here comes his daughter. Amazing timing. So, but prior to that, I found it really interesting that the writer gives us a setting, a cultural setting, a protocol. Sets that up. I don't think that's by accident. These guys come every day, the shepherds, they come and they wait for all the people to be there, and then they move the stone together, and then they water their sheep, and then they move the stone back and they go their way. Why do you suppose that is?
Protect the well.
Yeah, protect the well. Yeah, protect the well. Water is a important commodity. Important resource there. And so that's my take, is that, and they have a tradition, they have a protocol all set up. Jacob comes in, he interacts with them, broad strokes here, sees Rachel, and as soon as he sees Rachel, that's a trigger that cause him to act, and he acts in a certain way. What does he do?
He shows off.
That's your interpretation.
Most of the story that we've read so far, I get the feeling that Jacob is a mama's boy.
Yeah.
You don't see him, he's not pumped up. But yet he rolls the stone away, apparently by himself, or it looks like by
Yeah.
himself.
Yeah.
So
That's the way it reads.
yeah, you know. So who is this guy that's made this journey?
Yeah, yeah.
You
Good,
know, is it
good
a hoverboard, or
observation.
is it somebody that's out?
Superman.
Yeah.
Yeah. We will bump you up. Okay. Good observation. Jacob acts, and as we read the text, our brains kind of go on tilt. Wait, this seems a little odd, right? It's interesting. Okay, so what do others say about this? I read half dozen commentaries, and I tend to read commentaries from a traditional or a conservative perspective. And so I wanted to see, you said show off. You're kind of putting it into a little bit of a negative spin, his action on a negative spin. And so I wanted to see what the commentators say. And so these are just some really rough comments. Either on the positive side, the commentators say that, well, obviously Rachel was the last in the group to show up, and now it was okay to move the stone, and so they all moved it together. Okay. Another set of group said, that Jacob obviously couldn't have moved the stone himself because the text reads that no one could move the stone, so he therefore had help and actually was joining in with the local tradition, and they moved the stone together. Positive spin. Or, interestingly enough, I find this as a pattern. A lot of them don't want to touch it. Yeah, they're just silent. You figure it out. Nothing from the conservative perspective on the negative side, on the negative spin. So, what do you think? Any comments? Yes, Dave.
I think part of it has to do, we've talked about Jacob's concern or fear about confronting Laban and going into this strange area and all the rest of this. I think he's jumping at an opportunity to look good as soon as he can. So he's very affectionate to his cousin.
Yeah.
And hopefully she will tell her father how nice and helpful he was and everything else, so he'll be on a really good foot when he first sees his uncle.
I think that's fair, especially given the history that what we've learned about Jacob. I think that's fair assessment.
I'm really puzzled because it says here in the beginning, it says, talks a little background, it says, when all the flocks were gathered there, the shepherds would roll away the stone. And then verse 7, he says, look, the sun's high, it's not time for the flocks to be gathered. Water the sheep and take them to the pasture. I mean, that's a sort of a, huh? I mean, he's violating the assumed tradition.
Yeah. They're in a pattern. They've been doing this for centuries.
Yeah. And he says,
Jacob comes in and starts to make other suggestions.
yeah.
Why?
I thought I had when you talked about protecting the well, is that this is a community,
Yeah.
and there sometimes there's distrust within a community, and I think part of it was you don't get more than your fair share, so you don't open the well early and water your sheep before everybody else has a chance to
Yeah.
get there and kind of join in. So, this part here may have been part of that. Is it's not time, but he suggests they water them early, and now some of them might not take too well for that. I don't know how to interpret that.
Well, that's kind of why we're having some fun with this, yeah. Because there's, the last thing commentators want to do, especially from a conservative perspective, is question the patriarch. We tend, guys, all of us, me, Chief, we take to the text what we want to see. And we tend to find what we're looking for. I am viewing this as Jacob is a guy just like you and I, and he's on a journey, and he's got some great qualities, and he's got some not so great qualities, and they tend to bounce out at different times. Now, not everyone holds that position, but that's what I bring to the text. And so I tend to look at these actions, these anomalies, in the light of well, that's Jacob coming out there. I can relate to that. And so looking at it in that light. Here's my take. I see Jacob this way. He's loved. He's loved by God. He's loved by his family, especially his mom. I think his dad loves him. Yes, of course his dad loves him. He has a respect for God. He's had an encounter here. That whole thing with the ladder experience. He's had a real experience that's impacted him. And he has a respect for God, no question. He's clever. His name, supplanter. He knows how to get what he wants. Yeah. He's focused. He's focused on the journey. He's organized. He is what we would call strategic. He is what we could call an entrepreneur. He's entrepreneurial. He has leadership ability. I kind of implied that because no doubt he was with other people on this journey. I mean, I would find it hard to believe he's by himself the whole time. And he's able to lead a successful journey. He has initiative. He gets things done. He's able to show emotion. There's this soft side. He wept in the text here. Okay, now here's my point. Some of us have worked for people like Jacob. Nice folks, possibly we could label benevolent dictator, very Christianized, but there is a huge Jacob in that person. And after you work with that person over a period of time, you start to go on tilt. How does he or she process this? They're questions. Some of us have been pastored by a person like Jacob, all in the name of the kingdom of God, but really self-focused. Is that not true? Some of us have voted for a person like Jacob. No, we are Republicans. Never. That didn't go over very well. Don't take me so seriously, guys. It goes silent. All right. Okay, now we're getting closer to home. Some of us are married to a person like Jacob. Very kind and very considerate, wonderful smile, but by golly, she gets what she wants. Now, here's the last one. Here's the kicker. Here we go, guys. You ready for this one? Most of our wives are married to a person like Jacob. Is that not true? We're Christianized in our thinking and all for the glory of God and all that. But by golly, if we're honest with ourselves, we're pretty doggone self-centered, self-focused, and we want what we want because it's right. All right. That's my take. So therefore, I read the text like this. He's got a driving question, verse 5. Driving question. Do you know Laban? Is he well? Oh, man, that's what he's been thinking about for 60 plus days. This is what Jacob has been thinking about. Jacob wants a successful journey. Uncle Laban is the key component to his success. Jacob is on a mission. And by golly, when you're on a mission, don't stand in my way, whether it is for business or for the kingdom of God, because I'm going to get what I want. Verse 6. Amazing timing. Providential here. Rachel just happens to be strolling by. There's more going on, guys, than we know. Isn't that true? Isn't that true? There's just more going on behind the scenes than we really know. Oh, give us eyes to see. Verse 7, Jacob's suggestion, why not get this done, guys, now? Here, let me come in here as a guest as a newbie to the community, and let me tell you how to run your business here.
A consultant.
Yeah, consultant. Yeah. Okay. Yes.
That's what outside consultants do.
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
just come in and muddy the water.
They get paid for it. They're really smart, and they carry no responsibility.
And they leave and go home.
Or go do it again. I think we're talking out of experience here. This is how I see it. Self-centered, he's attempting to get rid of the crowd so he can do his agenda. His agenda is Laban and relatives of Laban, Rachel, and he wants to do business. And so therefore, clear unnecessary resources out of the way so we can get your agenda done. Have you ever known anybody like that? Me. The shepherd's response, we can't do that. We have protocol here.
We've never done it that way before.
We've never done it that way before.
Always
Yeah.
do it this way.
Plus, I really lean in with Jeff in his comment is that everybody's got to have their fair share. I mean, yeah, of course. I mean that just.
But he wants his first. Everybody's got a fair share, but I'm going to get mine right now. I'm going to get
mean
mine
Jacob?
on behalf of Laban. I'm going to do this right now.
Yeah, that's how I'm seeing it. The shepherds, they're under the protocol and the cultural tradition. We don't do it. No, we act in fairness. Jacob, I mean, look at this. This is ridiculous. He comes in, sauntering in. Who are you guys? Haran. Do you know so-and-so? He's there to do business. Now, here's how you should do your work. Well,
I think
pushback.
he's smitten.
What's that?
I think he's immediately smitten with Rachel.
Oh, yeah.
So it's more than a show. Somebody said it was a. He goes, whoa, who is this?
I
What-
think it's a show for Rachel.
But he starts all of this before Rachel shows up. He starts giving direction.
Well,
Right?
no, they said.
I want you.
I mean, he's on that mission for Laban, and then I think in a sense, there's
It switched?
Yeah, I think he switches horses there, and I think Rachel becomes his mission
Yeah.
at that point.
Well,
But-
what his mission was to go into another land.
Well, that-
Wife.
yeah.
Get a wife.
That
Get
is
away
yes,
from-
yes. That is true. That really is the goal behind the goal. I'm saying it's Laban, but gee, I think you're right. I think it is Rachel. I think he sees the prize there, and that could actually, Steve, that could explain why he could move the stone. He's on adrenaline, superpower. You've heard guys lifting Volkswagens and stuff, yeah.
He sees the end of his mission in sight.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, yeah.
He sees a fast track here, and he didn't realize he's not on the fast track. He's not unaware that he's not. He sees a fast track. I'm here. Uncle Laban's well. There's Rachel. I'll do this. Kiss Rachel. Let's get this on.
Get her done.
Yes.
Yeah.
Not so fast.
Yeah, that is what's so interesting about us guys, is that you and I think, Jacob thinks he's accomplishing a mission. Only if he knew he is just beginning. Jacob then goes into superpower mode, and he rolls the stone. The simple reading. He doesn't give a squat what those other guys say. Actually, that's part of the entrepreneurial spirit. You have to have the ability to act alone, which has some positive aspects. It has some very negative aspects as well, such as life. But I would just put it, he just takes matters into his own hand. He does it the way Jacob gets what Jacob wants. He's overcome with motion because he cares. I don't think it was an act. I think he was smitten. I think it was real. I think you and we're on a journey, 60, 80 days, maybe 60 years, and all of a sudden something comes in and we just realize the marvelous blessing of God and the fulfillment of a mission. Of course we're overcome with emotion. He cares. There is, he's a man just like you and I. He cares. He's overcome with emotion, and he weeps. I've got here, this in mind, in his mind, a sense of fulfillment is just the beginning of something, but in reality, it's just the beginning of something entirely new that we're going to launch out in this interaction with Laban. How we interpret a given juncture in life is at best somewhat true. I want to just end up with a little story. I haven't talked much about, if at all, about this, but prior to this year, or last year at this time, I was, and I had been for a few years, really on a course to move out of our electrical business and transition out. We had a young guy that was interested in buying our electric company, and I was devoting more and more time to what I would like to do, Christ in the Rockies, working with dads and sons. You guys know about that. And my language was, in 2011, something happened, and I really felt God telling me, urging me to start the transition. And I use that language here. And at best, it was somewhat true. Because in March, in a very horrible situation, I needed to step back in. The whole deal fell terribly apart. Guys, I have not figured out, have not been successful on how to groom someone else to take the company. I'm the opposite of a micromanager. I said, I figured it out, you figured it out. And a lot of it is because I just lost interest. I mean, it's embarrassing, having operated a business for so long. And to be quite truthful, I'm just tired of the whole thing. I got this new thing I want to do, and God is leading me in this, See? Well, somewhat true. So I had a choice. I either step in, or we're going to lose this thing for the second time in my work career. Seems like I should have learned it the first time back 10 years ago. Didn't. And so basically, since March 24th, stepped back in, and I have been working my absolute tail off in a very, very bad situation to try to improve it, to get to some level of, for months we were just bailing out water while the water was seeping in, and it's been a whale of a lot of work. And so how do you interpret that? How do you interpret that at a juncture in life where you think that, gee, God is doing this? Have any of you ever used that language? God is doing, like, I know, sure, come on. Well, I will tell you, 9 months or 6 months later, at the end of this year, I have nothing but gratefulness in my heart for all. Peter Way has stepped in to help me, and he's just been a marvel. He's so different than me, but when I needed a friend, he stepped in, and he had been consulting with us and so forth, and it's just been a marvelous help. Now he's got his plans too, and I think after the first, we're going to start transitioning into a different kind of relationship. But I'm grateful for my son who stepped up, who actually stepped up and said, Dad, I'm really interested in this business. I would like to help you with it. Man, the blessing to be able to work with my son every day. We have a marvelous journeyman electrician, Dan Ruiz, and he stuck with me when the folks left the company. I actually had to let him go. Boy, there was all this flack that was going on, and most people would say, I don't want to hang, I'm going to go find another job. And Dan is a very good seasoned electrician and a quality guy to the core. He could have very well, just because of the uncertainty, left, but he didn't. He stuck. And I'm so grateful for Dan. We went through 2 bookkeepers trying to find somebody new. That was a whole nother story. But now we got Jan Flynn is joining us, and she's just doing a marvelous job. And so I think of people. I think of relationships. I think of what the realization of how, gee, I need help, because if I didn't need help, I wouldn't be in the position I am. That hasn't always been the case. But through a very painful, guys, very painful and humbling experience, it's not over yet. I've learned to embrace both. I'm just grateful I still get to do Christ in the Rockies. But it's not, to me, I can honestly say I've embraced both. And it's not about tolerating the company and going through the motions in order to then, so I get to do what I really want to do. It's not about getting to do what we want to do. It's about allowing what God is, allowing what God is doing in our lives, and it's basically killing us so that He can live forth through us. And guys, it is not an enjoyable experience. All of us have our stories, and you've heard a little bit of mine today. Have a good Christmas, everyone. We'll see you after the first of the year.
Can I just say one thing about
Yeah.
Trent, the guy who had the brain tumor?
Yes.
Yesterday,